Andy, the cameraman, was nice enough to show up to my house with a couple different selections of some real lube. I have a real oil, and I have a silicone real lube. Now, they are very specific for sure. A lot of people think that you just grab some oil, you oil up your reel, and you're good to go. But that can actually cause some harm if you oil the wrong parts. That's what this is for, the silicone thing. Now, I don't consider myself an expert at maintaining my reels, but a lot of times, and it happens after, I'm in a tournament and it just pours rain all day on me. My reels are getting soaked. I might as well just throw them in the lake. The next day I'll go fishing and I cast, start reeling in, and they're squeaking, they're bad. That's easy to fix. And that one, I use the real oil for. And it's usually only two things that are causing this to squeak. Okay, so you unscrew this guy, and you gotta make sure it's pulled right out, and then that side plate's just slide down, and then wiggles free. Okay, there's two places I'll oil, and this is the only two places I'll oil in a reel without having to do a major job. Okay, so I'll pull the spool out now. I'll take my oil. Where'd I put it? Is that good to drop? Oh, yes it is. Now I have oil on my finger. Okay, right inside here, I'll use my line pick. I drop a bit of oil in there. That's just going to oil the bearings. You do not want to oil gears. You only want to oil bearings. And you got bearings in there, and that's where that rod will come in play there. So that will get covered in some oil. So I'll just go, and not much, just a drop. There's one drop. One drop of oil.
So tilt that reel towards me. So you put one drop of oil
in there.
Down in that little gold piece there?
Yeah.
Did you put it down in the hole?
Yeah, you drop the oil right down into that hole, one drop. Once I put the shaft of the spool in there, it's gonna coat that as well. And that's one area. Now, it's like that there. This is the side plate. This has a bearing in here. These are the spots that are taking most of the friction from you casting and reeling. Okay, and that's also the two areas that are mostly exposed to the elements. Okay, so I will drop a little bit of oil on this side plate bearing, just a drop. Do not over oil. I have over oiled the reel, and then it came out all over my hands while I was fishing, and I almost dropped my rod in the water. So you don't want that to happen. And then just slip it back on. So that is usually enough to stop a squeak if you're in the middle of a rainy day and your reel starts squeaking. That will stop it. This here is your worm gear, and as you can see, it's exposed to the elements. Any little bit of dirt that falls in that worm gear, inside this doohickey is called your pawl gear, and it has teeth that bite into this worm gear, and as you spin the handle, that's what causes your level wind to turn, okay? If you have a bit of grit or dirt on that, and then your pawl gear goes across, it will actually push the pawl gear off its course and bite into the worm gear, effectively ruining the gear, and you can't fix that. You just have to replace that piece. So again, this is a gear, and the rule of thumb is oil bearings, grease gears, okay? So since that's a gear, I would just put some white grease or some of this silicone lube on it. But first, if you notice there's some dirt, you actually have to take your reel apart and clean that out. Get all the dirt out of that, flush it out, whatever you have to do, and then coat it with some silicone, anything like that, not oil. So I showed you the two spots in here that you can oil, and then one spot in here that you can grease on your own, nice and safe. But inside here, if you take this side plate off, there's a whole bunch of gears. They can use greasing from time to time, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you're an expert, because a lot of pieces can fall off and go missing and effectively ruin your reel.